Hi, and welcome back to The Rebuild Talks with Tiffany. There was just so much for us to dive into with Victoria. One episode didn't do it justice, so stay tuned for part two.
Hello, and welcome back to Talks with Tiffany. I'm so glad that you all are able to join me.
I am thrilled and honored to be here.
So, career starts moving.
Mhm.
The kids are secure because you're probably with your parents or
Yep.
whatever you all are doing. And then
And then,
what happens?
so remember, I said I was hanging out with my brother a lot, right? So growing up, my brother had a lot of friends, and one of his friends was this guy, Eric, and he stayed friends with Eric for many, many years and is still, of course, friends with Eric now, right? And so we started hanging out with him a lot because he was one of the friends he had his own place, right? So everybody would gather at Eric's house. And I'm sure that for you, that is no surprise.
Yes.
Everybody would gather at Eric. He is. He's just very inviting. People were always over there. And so we would be over there. We'd play video games. He played Dance Dance Revolution. He introduced me to that game. Fun fact, we actually have a metal pad at home. We can play that game at home. Yeah, even now, even all these years later. So we started hanging out together, all together. I would hang out with all his friends, and Eric was among them. And we developed a friendship that we didn't have as growing up. Like I knew him since he was a child and I was a child, but we weren't friends then because he was my brother's friend and
Right.
I was a teenager and he was little. So we didn't really know each other like that. But, over the years, we would stay in touch and I would hear about what was going on in his life. And it was just, that type of thing. And we all lived in, the same neighborhood the whole time. So we stayed connected in those ways. Now we're hanging out and we're becoming friends. Then my brother gets this opportunity to go to Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. I'm not sure, like if it was Pennsylvania exactly or not, whatever. Anyway, he's out there. And while he's out there, I stay connected to Eric and we start going on AOL.
Yes.
At that time. That's when everything with the chat was on
Yeah,
AOL, right? So we're on
People
AOL
don't
all
remember
hours.
dial-up, and they don't
They don't
remember that. Like
all that noise from having to.
buffering. That was the
And
true test of your relationships. Like, are you able to be with me in this AIM chat room and wait for my response? Yeah.
it's funny because we really became friends. Like we would talk about his relationships and because now I'm single, right? So I'm dating and he's dating and we're talking. We became like confidants and we talk about things. And he'd like put me on to all the stuff that I had missed as a young adult, being married and having two kids. And we'd be on like AOL all hours of the night chatting and stuff. And he'd take me to baseball games. And we would just have such a blast, right? And while my brother was away, we started to like just hang out all the time. And I remember this one night when me and my girlfriends, my friends, the moms, that we were all like mom friends,
Right.
they were like, come with us, we're gonna crash this party. And I'm like, crash a party? Like I used to go to church all day. I never drank, I didn't do anything, right? Now we're crashing parties,
Right. This is a
having
whole new
Jello
experience
shots.
for
Like
you.
this is like reliving the life that I didn't have as a young adult, right? So we crashed this party and I say, Eric, you want to come with me? And he's like, yeah, sure, let's go. So he comes with me to the party and we're dancing and having a good time and everything. And my friends are like, who is this guy? Are you with him? Like, what's going on?
Right.
And we're like, what do you mean? And he's like, she's like my sister. Like, yeah. But we're dancing and having a good time. So needless to say, by the
He
end of
was
that night,
not having sisterly thoughts towards you at all. Not at all. Like, I feel like this is like the most classic, speaking of the 80s, although this didn't occur in the 80s, but I'm saying like this is like the most classic 80s movie scene. Like the brother's friend that is obsessed with his friend's sister, like his older sister, and the older sister
I
just
think
like
he did have a crush on me
so
when we
cool
were younger,
and everything
but
else.
I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah. But this is what this sounds like. He is not thinking about anybody's. No.
But we were like, needless to say, that night we shared our first kiss and we started dating, and we have been dance partners ever since.
Oh My goodness. That is
Yeah,
I love that. I love
so
so
cute.
why what is it about him? What was it about him, about Eric? Because you said you were dating
Yeah.
and he was dating and you had already known each other. But what was it about Eric?
So I tell this story about Eric, and I used to tell it all the time, even when I was married before, because he was in a serious relationship at one point, and not at this time. He had already not been much, but he was in a serious relationship at one point, and I told I when people would get together and talk about how they got engaged and tell their engagement stories and how they were proposed to, I would tell the story about how he proposed to his then fiance. And it was just such a beautiful story. And it was so cute and sweet. Everybody had gathered at my parents' house. You know, they're all friends, right? And they were in my brother's room and they were watching a movie and hanging out and everything, right? And the girlfriend's there and all the other friends are there. And so in the middle of the movie, the screen goes black and these two puppets come out of nowhere and they start roasting everybody in the room. They
Mhm.
start making fun of everybody in the room. And then they get to his fiancee Maria, and they do a little gagging on her, whatever. And then they get a little serious, and they say, they start talking about how much, Eric loves her and all this. And then Eric gets, down on one knee and proposes in front of his friends at the friends. And I just thought that that story was one of the most beautiful stories I'd ever heard. I thought it was really sweet, very thoughtful. He really like went out of his way to do something different, something creative, something really sweet. And I used to say that whoever ends up with this guy is the luckiest woman in the.
Wow. Wow.
So I had already like it's not that like we didn't have any relationship or anything like that at the time, but I could tell that he was a good guy. He was a sweet guy. He cared about people, and when we became friends, it was very clear that he was thoughtful and generous. He was just really a wonderful person, and I was glad to be his friend. Yeah, so yeah.
So beautiful. I think that's such a beautiful way to feel about the person that you're interested in and that you liked and then eventually loved.
Yeah. And my parents knew him, so like everybody he was family already. Now,
Right.
when my brother got back
Now what
from
that
his
that must have been a change. He left and you all were friends and he's probably
yeah,
figuring, I hope he's probably figuring, I hope my friend Eric at least, is nice to my friend, my sister. And here you are being a little bit more. He was being a little bit more
yeah,
than you
yeah,
just
that
like
was
him or
a little
nice.
rough when he
Yeah.
came back. It was a little bit of a transition because he didn't expect for us to fall in love or to start dating or anything like that. And so he wasn't particularly happy when he got back, but he came around and
Yeah.
they're really, really wonderful friends to this day.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I
Yeah.
love that. I so love that. So you told me a story about him with the children, particularly with Ezra.
Oh,
And pants. I feel like it's one thing to rebuild and remarry after you've been divorced without children. It's a completely different situation when you bring kids into the mix. And although I'm sure the kids might have been familiar with him because he came around, having them understand now this is going to be mom's partner. Tell me a little bit about what that was like, a little bit about.
yeah. So the kids didn't know him very much at all
Mhm.
at the start. And we kind of did that on purpose just to give them a little bit of separation. But when we started to really get serious, we started to spend some time with the kids and so that he could build a relationship with them. And there was a time where we went to Bryant Park and we bought some candy and we hung out at the park. We had a blanket, we sit down in the grass, and my son Ezra had a big like Willy Wonka type candy bar, and it was chocolate all over his face. He was just covered in chocolate. And I was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? We didn't have any napkins or anything. And so Eric was wearing these type of cargo pants that had zippers and you could take them and make them into shorts.
I remember these pants, like, I
Yes.
remember this. I
He
remember
had
this.
the
I had pants
yeah.
like this. I
He
definitely had pants like this.
he had a pair of pants on like those. So he took off the bottoms of his pants and got a bottle of water and used his pants to clean off my son's face so that he didn't walk around with chocolate all over him. And at that moment, I knew I was in love.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
it was the sweetest, most bizarre, but also really wonderful moment. Like, he would just do that. Like,
Uh,
it was just really sweet, and it showed me that he would be willing to do anything to take care of us.
yeah.
And there's, it's just, yeah, that's the guy he is.
I love that because I think that you don't always know how someone's gonna be around your children and how they're gonna receive your children and how they're gonna love your children and how they're gonna care for. Like that is really caring for your
Yeah,
children, not just like loving them because they're an extension of you, but like really, being in a position to care and be compassionate and gentle and all the things that your son needed at that moment. That is so sweet.
yeah. It really was. And if you know our family, you know that he has a wonderful relationship with the kids. And he's very respectful of the fact that they have a dad. So he's not dad to them, but he has been a real father to our kids and they adore him.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. I've been around you all, so I know, undoubtedly how how Eric is with the children, how he is with your family in general. And
Yeah.
it's just beautiful. It's just really beautiful. Is there like what is it that you hope or want people to know about your love story or about rebuilding after a divorce? Because if your marriage was what it was. I know that your divorce was incredible, spectacularly incredible and devastating. Because that's what divorce typically is. It's very rare that you have like an amicable divorce or people have amicable divorces. What do you want people to know about your love story after having gone through all of that? Or what do you want them to know is possible about love?
Well, let me just say first that thankfully I have been able to develop a very respectful relationship. The beginnings of our divorce, my divorce to my first husband, were really difficult, as many are. And thankfully, we have been able to find a way to be with each other and like to the point, and this is hard to believe, but to the point that Eric and I have actually gone on vacations and he's been there with his new wife and with his family. So, thank God that we were able to,
Absolutely.
we can be in the same room, we can be together. And, everything is not perfect with, with him, but we were able to have a really respectful relationship. And I just want to say that. But what it taught me to be in the relationship that I'm in now was the kind of communication that Eric and I are able to have as I was learning to be who I really wanted to be, because being in that relationship had stifled the previously had stifled who I could be, right? And so now I had the opportunity to be whoever I wanted. And the way that he was able to hold that and be with me around investigating who I wanted to be, testing out what kind of life I wanted to lead, what kind of person I wanted to be in relationship with him and with my children and with other people. Um, there was a lot of pendulum swinging in the beginning,
I can imagine.
because there was a lot of overcorrecting. I get to be whatever I want and then go about, like that kind of stuff. The way that he was able to be with me around that is a gift. And it taught me a lot about what a healthy relationship could look like. So I'll say that.
Was there a vision that you had for your relationship? Like, was there a vision that you had for your life, knowing that you would eventually get into another relationship or get into another be married again?
No, because I didn't know that. I don't think I was sure at the time that I was going to find the kind of relationship I did.
Mhm.
When I started dating Eric, there was a part of me that felt like he is going to leave. He is absolutely going to leave. This is too good to be true.
Wow.
And he stuck around. And I did, in the beginning, I did everything that I could to see like if he was going to stick around.
Yeah, we test those limits. Test
I
it so that
tested
we
those
can see
limits.
if is this true blue? Is this real? Is this sincere or not? Yeah.
Yeah, and it we were able to find our way together and talk things out, and I could disagree. Like there was a for a long time I was in a relationship where I could not disagree, and I was finally in a space where I could not think the same way as him and still be in the same room with him
Right.
and love him and him love me and see me and be fine with me not agreeing with him.
I often
Yeah.
wonder what that is all about, why people feel the need to be agreed with. People can have different opinions, different ideas about things and live peacefully together.
Yeah.
I'm always interested, and by interested I mean disturbed by people who need to have people like agree with them. I don't know if it's a sense of validation, if it's a sense of knowing that their opinion matters or that they matter. I don't know what it is, but it's weird. It's weird to me. Like I don't
It can't
agree
yeah.
with everyone. I don't agree with any one person about everything. I don't even agree with myself about everything. So why
Right.
why do I have to have the same opinion? It's just odd to me.
It is odd, but I think that in my experience, it often has a lot to do with their own personal safety and their own ability to regulate themselves and has less to do with anybody else. So thankfully, I think there's a maturity that comes with being able to disagree with people and see things differently and be able to accept that people can be different. And I remember very early in my first marriage, I I would say things and I was surprised that there was a communication would completely fall apart. And there was this sense that I couldn't say things that I wanted to say. Even if they were true, I couldn't talk about things that weren't working because it broke the facade of everything being fine and great and wonderful. And that was a real turning point for me to be able to say, you know what, this thing that you're doing right now isn't really working for me. And Eric be like, oh, okay, well, what would you like to be different? And I was like, wait, what?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know yet. Let me think about it.
I didn't
And
think this all the way through.
I didn't think we would get
Yeah, this quickly. I thought this was going to turn into an argument or stonewalling
right.
or something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the years that I had spent holding in my opinions and holding in the things that I wanted in life, and so that I would not make it feel like anything was wrong. It was this level of freedom that I was able to experience in this relationship where I could say things are not the way I want them to be, and they didn't have to actually turn out to be the way that I wanted them to be. We could talk it out
Mhm.
and figure out some common ground. And that was amazing.
I think what's interesting that I heard just recently is that every time that we are silent and we don't speak up, we are actually giving away a piece of ourselves.
Mm,
And it really
wow.
makes me think, like, definitely in relationship, definitely in friendships, every time that we don't speak up, but it also makes me think of in a larger context, often silence is complicitness, right? Like when we're silent, we're saying that we accept and we agree with whatever the status quo is, whatever the majority is saying. And so I really find this interesting that unfortunately, sometimes we do it in relationship, not really understanding that we get to still be an individual and say, and the world won't fall apart. Like the house was secure. Eric was
Yeah.
fine. He's safe and secure in your relationship and in your love. That you not agreeing with him or saying that something doesn't work for him doesn't mean that the relationship completely falls apart. I love that.
It was it was like a whole new world for me, and I think that part of that was my journey in life to find my voice. I've been singing my whole life, and, when you sing, it's a way of kind of giving a part of yourself to the people that are listening, right? And so that was the outlet that I was allowed to be like bring myself to the table.
Mhm.
And it was a really beautiful thing for me to explore now, not just my singing voice, but my speaking voice and my writing voice. And I think that that's one of the reasons why self expression is so important to me and so vital to the work that I do in coaching and in facilitation, allowing for multiple voices in the room. Like that makes me an incredible facilitator, things like that. It was a hard training ground to go through, but it resulted in a way of being that really honors the voices that I get to come in contact and be honored to witness. So, gotta look at the silver linings, I guess.
I love that because you are in this relationship and you are loved so thoroughly and completely that that really allowed you the space to grow and explore creatively. Definitely allows you to literally have your voice, your singing voice and your speaking voice and the voice of you as an author, as a writer, as a storyteller. And I love how love and security and stability provided by your partner, provided by your husband is really a great foundation for that.
Yep, that's been an incredible, I call it like the soft place to land.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I absolutely. I just love that. You have to tell us about some of the things that you and Eric do. And I say that because there are sometimes that you and I will be talking or we're about to talk and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to go hang out with Eric for a little while." And it's just the way that you say his name that's so sweet. What's so interesting to me is I'll tell everyone, so Victoria and I have worked together doing personal development coaching, personal transformation coaching, and Eric does some of the same work. And interestingly enough, I met Eric quite a while before you and I ever
yeah.
met, and definitely
Hmm.
at least a year, probably a
Yep.
little bit more. And he and I met and we just clicked. And, I just thought he was a wonderful person. And it's so interesting. And I knew that you and I were going to, meet and, there'd be no issue or anything between you and I. I did not anticipate us being like as close as we are, there's just, I didn't anticipate this at all. But I say that to say there are some times when you say, I'm going to hang out with Eric, or I just, we did this, we stayed up late on Friday night. And I don't get jealous, but there is something about that I'm like, I will have that. I will have that. I will have that. Like, it is so beautiful. You and I were talking last week, which is a part of why this podcast even came to be. And you were so emotional talking about your husband of 17 years, which I think is beautiful. Which I think is
Thank
beautiful because
you.
sometimes when we love a little bit later in life, that love comes with so many conditions and it comes with so many rules and so many expectations. And to know that you love with your heart wide open after being hurt, like you were really hurt in your first marriage, after
Yeah.
being hurt and, really picking yourself up and like creating a whole new life for yourself, to know that even after all of these years, and I'm sure your marriage has gone through multiple iterations, right?
Oh, yeah, of
And
course.
Victoria have
Yeah.
gone through multiple iterations, but you are still deeply loved. You're in love. Or I can tell how much you care, like really, really care about each other. The level of intimacy that you have, it's just so beautiful. So I can't gush about it anymore. Like, I just can't. I just can't. So, like, tell us about some of the things that you two share together, that you do together, that you enjoy doing together.
Okay, cool. I wanted to, can I tell the Two things. I will tell you all of those things, but can I tell us the story, the better engagement story?
Yes, absolutely.
Because
Please
I
tell us
forgot to
because
tell it.
I'm going to edit out the other engagement story.
No, don't. It's so good. I love that story because it shows like I had such an admiration for him even from the start. But I often say now that I have my own, that the only engagement story that I liked better was my own.
because that is it's an incredible engagement story. Okay, tell us about your engagement story.
Okay, so basically, we were living together at this point with the kids, and Eric likes to do projects. He likes to do big projects, and he was on this kick to do this project for the 4th of July. Basically, he wanted friends to come over, and we would go to the roof because in the city, you go to the roof to see because we lived in New York at the time, and we lived in the building that's on one of the buildings that's on the Physical Graffiti album, and yeah, but strangely enough, the fun fact, the floor that we live on, we lived on the 4th floor because they wanted the building to only have 4 floors. They edited out our floor.
Oh my
So we're
goodness. That is so
anyway, so
hilarious.
we are technically not on the Physical Graffiti album, but our building was. Anyway, so we're in the building and I live with him now and he wants to go to the roof and he wants to project a movie and video games onto one of the the sides of one of the other buildings
Mhm.
for 4th of July. So every day he's going up to the roof and testing out the projector and so we had just finished dinner and he's like, "Can I go to I'm going to go to the roof, check the projector." And I'm like, "Again? My gosh." And now I'm stuck with the dishes. So I'm doing the dishes and I'm annoyed because this is like, I don't know, night 5 of this project.
Mhm.
And he calls me after a few minutes and he says, "Babe, can you look out the window for me? I want to see if you can actually see the projection." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm trying to do the dishes,
Right,
but
right, right.
let me just go and do this for this man." So much for all the love and
Right.
right? So I go to the window, I look out the front window. He's like, it's like, how am I supposed to see it? It's on the roof. He's like, no, no, no. I'm gonna project it onto the ground of the street, like where the cars go.
Mhm.
He's like, yeah, yeah, where the cars go. Just look there, and if you can see it, let me know. I'm like, okay, great. So I look, and he's like fixing the focus, and he focuses in, and it's a picture of a newspaper cover, the cover of a newspaper.
Front page of the newspaper, yeah.
And the headline says, "Eric Lugo proposes to Victoria Cubero. New York City wants to know how she will respond." And there's a picture of him with a ring in his hand. And there's a little article on the side that talks about my nonprofit work and how I'm, a pillar of the community.
Oh my
And how
goodness.
I'm respected in the community. And he wanted to make sure that
And this is projected
that I got
onto
it's
the street.
projected huge onto the street of St. Mark's
I love
Place.
this.
And
St.
like
Mark's Place, people. Very, very, very important street in New York City. Just let
I
you
know, like
know.
huge
St.
people
Mark's
stand.
Place has always been the spot. Always been a
It's a
great place to go.
spot.
Yeah.
People actually stand in front of in front of that building to take
Mhm.
pictures all the time.
Wow.
So there's tons of people walking back and forth, looking at the street, looking up, trying to find the woman that this proposal is
Yeah.
for, and they're
Yeah.
all looking at me. And by this point, the kids have come to the window and looked out the window, and they're all crying. We're all boo-hoo. Then
Love
the
this.
picture disappears, and another a Word document shows up, and he types in. He types out, "Look in the freezer, love." So I'm like, well, okay. So I go to the freezer, and the ring is in the freezer.
Oh,
So my story was better.
infinitely better. Infinitely better.
Yeah. So
Infinitely better. And you got the man. Infinitely
and I got the
better.
man, and I became the luckiest woman in the world.
Yeah,
The luckiest girl in the
absolutely.
world.
And still are. You still are.
And still are, for sure.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so we spend a lot of time like playing games. We're both artists, so we do art together. We go to like gaming events. We've gone to like gaming conferences and things like that. We created a board game together called Choosing Sides, and it's really, really fun. You should check it out. And we listen to music. We just got a record player, so we've been playing a lot of his grandma's old vinyls and sitting around and talking. We talk all the time about so many things, and it's just when Eric decided that he was going to do a personal professional development work, he was not really interested in that, and I was doing it like all the time. And he's a runner, so he was doing marathons and stuff, and he's like, I'll stick to the running and you stick to the personal development. And I remember wanting to have certain conversations with him, but he just didn't really get it because he did like there's a language to this and stuff like that. And
So
it was a point where he was like, you know what? I want to understand you better. So I'm gonna go and do these workshops. It was like seriously,
yeah, you
that's
guys,
this guy.
yeah,
Anyway, so he went and did them, and we started like really like getting involved in this stuff. And he's an incredible coach. Like people that have worked with him have really done some really big things with their lives, with his support, and we have developed such an incredible way of interacting with each other and learning from each other. He is like the iron that sharpens my iron. Yeah. So
that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. I love that. I love
thanks.
that thing. I mean, I've been around you too, and he just the way he dotes on you and cares for you is just so beautiful. And you him as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. He lucked out too, I
Yeah,
think.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I definitely think he lucked out. And you two are just so beautiful together. What's next for the two of you?
So what's next is we are becoming grandparents again. So we have a beautiful grandson named Sonny, and we moved to Florida for a while. We had 2 beautiful years, just the two of us, and our relationship got even closer and even stronger in that opportunity. And we thank God every day that we got to spend that time together because we had never really lived alone. Our kids live with us. And so as things changed in the world, and we just felt like we really wanted to be close to family, and we decided to move back northeast. We were always on the east, but northeast.
Northeast, yeah.
And right as soon as we moved, we didn't know this when we decided and we moved, but as soon as we moved, my daughter found out that she was pregnant with twins.
My
So
goodness.
we are so thrilled and overjoyed to be welcoming 2 beautiful babies into our family. And that's really what's next. It's being the support to our daughter and new son-in-law and doting over these kids and spending time together as grandparents.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It sounds like you are living the love of your dreams.
Absolutely. And when we moved back here, we moved to the same complex where my daughter lives. So we have the privacy of our own space, basically. And our son lives with us now. We gave up the apartment in New York.
Mhm.
And so we have our family together, and it's just fantastic. Like they were just over and had dinner with us, and it's just amazing. I love this life.
I love
I
it.
love this
I love
life.
that. I love that. And with twins, there's one baby for you to hold and one baby for Eric to hold. I
Absolutely.
love
It's going to
that.
be
So it always gets to be held.
fantastic trade.
Yeah, that is so perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Tell us where can we find you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram and I have 2 handles there. One is VLove, VLUVE. And that one is where I mostly share my creative stuff, my art, and then I have Mission Forward Coaching, which is my coaching business, and that's also on Instagram. And you can find me also on Substack under VR Lugo, that's my writing name, and on TikTok under VR Lugo as well.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably and so openly. I know that people are going to get real value from this conversation. Thank you so much. Join me again
Thank
soon.
you. I will. I'm happy to. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. Well, everybody, that is this episode of Talks with Tiffany. If you aren't already, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please like this podcast, share it with someone. Go check out another episode if you can. Thank you all for just listening and tuning in. I'll talk to you soon. Get with you later.